Listen, I know it's kind of a played out joke at this point, but like, seriously, what's a Call of Duty update if there isn't stealth and hidden changes associated with it? Cold War and Warzone's mid-season updates are no exception here, with a handful of hidden changes that were not mentioned in the initial patch notes. So today I'm going to run down what all changed here and what you need to know that wasn't quite given to you up front. So that said, as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Are you guys liking some of these changes? Do you hope to see some more things changed in the future here? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know. But as well, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. We're on that road to 400,000 subscribers, and we'll keep you the day with absolutely everything you need to know. As well, my friends over at G Fuel bumped up code ESPRESSO to 30% off your entire order if you want to restock or try it out for the very first time. Link in the description below. That said, let's talk about these secret and stealth changes. So let's start out with the earlier of the two updates in the week. We ended up getting Cold War's update, the mid-season update here for that, a day earlier than that of what we saw with Warzone's. And on the Cold War side of things, there's a couple of things that are introduced that weren't in the patch notes, weren't ever mentioned, that are actually pretty cool, I think. Firstly is a smaller one, but is something that never really made much sense to me whenever we took a look at the game actually in-game when you started since launch. That being the fact you have the ability to inspect your weapon and have an animation here with that, but you couldn't do that during the pre-game countdown where you're locked in place. Now you actually can. You can end up emoting and you can do these sort of things like inspecting your weapon after this update during that 10 seconds or so that you'll have before you jump into the action. Now, is that something that's really game-changing or something that is a huge change that affects how you play day to day? Probably not, but it's definitely a nice little feature that was finally added in here to Cold War. Another thing that was changed out here that wasn't mentioned in the update notes themselves was the fact that you can now actually access your seasonal challenges from the Challenges tab. Previously, whenever you went to check on these, you'd have to go over to your Barracks tab, take a look at your progression, enter into there, and then go into whatever season you want to look at. So Season 1 or 2 currently, but then you could take a look at all your progress here with those challenges made in the season or seasons prior. But you actually now have this at the very top of your Challenges tab, along with the multiplayer, zombies, campaign, and daily challenges. There it gives you a quick at-glance view of all the challenges that you have in either multiplayer or zombies, depending on which section of the game you're in. And then here you can quickly jump between navigation of seasons and also zombies and multiplayer, toggling between the two. So a nice little feature I think that was introduced here within Cold War. And the final thing that we'll talk about is actually something that comes down to just brief customization. Something coming over to then your Barracks tab once again, but this time under the player identity. Previously in this category, before you entered into it, to take a look at your things like your clan tag, calling card, and emblems you had on offer, at that top-down level, it only showed a brief little look at your emblem, calling card, and your level. But now actually it showcases the calling card showcase, where you can take 3 calling cards of your choosing throughout either campaign, zombies, or multiplayer challenges. All your mastery you can show off and things like that, your Dark Ether, your DM Ultra, your Dark Ops challenges, your things like that, and you can show them off right there in your barracks. Now, this also ends up having its own separate selection tab where you can, of course, go and select these items. Once you end up going in a little further to that player identity, it'll be at the bottom there, but that's a cool little feature here that will show off some of your accolades up front and was introduced with this update. Now, that's the Cold War side of things. There really wasn't a whole ton that was actually withheld from the patch notes and everything like that, but where we normally see these things come into play a little further is that of Warzone, which was a big subject of the discussion here this past couple of days. So, talking about these changes, one of the big things on that table of discussion was the topic of weapon balancing, weapon tuning, and changes made to weapons. Now, publicly stated, there was a recoil profile adjustment for the AUG, but that was about it. Was that the only thing? Not quite, though there still really wasn't a ton of changes made in terms of weaponry. Like, no weapons got secret nerfs into the ground or anything like that, but there were some adjustments to things like attachments. Now, the FFAR is a big one because players utilize that 50-round fast mag because previously there was no ADS penalty for it, or not one that was as drastic as it is now. However, after this update, this actually was adjusted. We ended up seeing a little bit more of an accurate representation in terms of a penalty for using that higher magazine count, in which now that has a slower ADS time than it did pre-patch with that attachment, the 50-round fast mag. But that was one of the most used attachments in the game because it was something that on the FFAR, great gun, no penalty for the ADS really, and also max ammo that's available. Absolutely take it. So that may make you rethink your approach here with that. Maybe just go with the 50-round mag instead of the speed mag. But then we also saw that some of the rear grips were actually fixed here. Now, I say some because not all, but the rear grips have been pretty much broken since Warzone's integration, in which if you're looking for that ADS increase, you're not really given much of any help here because those have been broken. But thanks to the testing that JGod has done here, we actually do see that the speed grips and the serpent grip end up actually improving the ADS speed by a decent bit across some of your main used weapons and those weapon classes, going to the extreme of the Serpent Wrap actually being an 11.11% increase in that ADS speed, so a decent buff here associated with it. Now again, it's only those two as of right now, and also in terms of other weapon attachments, there likely will still be some changes here. They said they fixed a lot in terms of accuracy, but also seems like they opened a can of worms to make things not so accurate again, but we'll see how all of that translates over the course of the coming weeks, but just know there are also a few weapon attachments changed as well. Outside of that, in terms of Warzone with functional gameplay, we saw something that was introduced here under the radar for seemingly a little bit of a thematic adjustment, this being the introduction of new Easter eggs, and I say that only somewhat as a pun because we actually end up seeing there are Easter-themed items within Warzone right now, including the Easter Basket Holiday Contract, which seems to be in place of the Contraband Contract, and if you do complete this, it seems like it rewards you with a blueprint that was previously locked away behind an Easter egg quest of some sort within Warzone. The ones I've seen so far are the Firebrand Bruin Blueprint, which is part of the Subway Easter egg from I think that was Season 6, and then also the Enigma CR56 Blueprint, which was a part of the Stadium Easter egg when that was opened up in Season 5. So that's something where you go, you take the egg to the exfil location, and then once you complete it, you'll be rewarded with a blueprint. Now, admittedly, I'm all for this, and especially as a way for players that didn't get to experience the game at that point, I'm all for this being something, but as somebody that's done quite a few of these Easter eggs, I'm not gonna lie, it makes me a little salty that these are a little less exclusive now. I'm probably just being a little petty, but that's something that I was hoping for when we see a new contract introduced, bring with it a new reward, not something that's just recycled that was based off of something done in the past. Now again, I understand why it is being brought back because those items are actually not accessible right now. The bottom garage of Stadium was closed off, the subway stations were closed off, so you can't really do those sort of things, but still with a new contract, I was kind of hoping for a new reward. But that said, that was introduced with this update as well. Might be around for only a little bit of time because it is thematic to Easter, which is as of this weekend, but we'll see. Next, we end up seeing introduced the attack helicopters here, though they've subsequently been removed as well already, lasting only a couple of days here, because the problems with them when they were introduced at the start of Season 1 produce the same bugs now as they did back whenever they were first introduced, allowing players to go invisible, which is as bad as it sounds. Go figure. So personally, I didn't think these are a good addition to Warzone as is. Sure, the minigun that is attached to it isn't as powerful as you'd think of when you think of the M134 styled minigun, but I just personally don't agree with this. It disrupts the flow and adds another thing that lowers the skill gap in my opinion. That's just me, but again, this was introduced, then subsequently removed, and maybe coming back at some point, but wasn't in the initial patch notes ever. Then we ended up seeing that the RCXD was actually added into the regular buy station. And also, what is a great troll here at this is that it's at the very bottom of the list for things you can buy. Everything else goes in sequential order in terms of how much it costs, except for that RCXD. So if you're somebody that has the muscle memory of going to the buy station, hitting up once, and then picking a loadout drop up, well, you probably bought this a couple of times in place of that, and may have set yourself back a couple of $1,000s and a few minutes of looting to end up getting back to that $10,000 limit and actually getting your loadouts. So that was added in as well, but that also comes along with the new protocol containment consoles, something that we did mention, so we'll kind of breeze past this one here, but this is something that was introduced with Season 1's launch at the very beginning with the now opened silos, but with this mid-season update, we actually got them to be interactable, where you can buy things like the RCXD, like self-res, like a UAV and a loadout drop marker, but you also end up getting things like the ability to access the bombardment, which requires a protocol key coming from one of those zombies locations in the map that activates a hellfire of a missile barrage over the zombies areas. You have the ability to buy a UAV and also foresight, something that gives you every single zone for the rest of the game on your minimap and tac map. Now, this wasn't in the patch notes because it plays into what is coming here in the in-game events, and also so does the introduction and addition of other in-game events, such as the missiles flying overhead and also that emergency broadcast that comes up randomly in your games. You may have seen this, you may not have. I know that personally, as of recording this, about probably a day or two before this goes live, I personally haven't seen it just yet because it does happen randomly, but those were introduced as well. And the final thing that we ended up seeing here in terms of Warzone unmentioned changes was that of camo texture adjustments, in which the mastery camos for Cold War weaponry now try to reflect more accurately what they look like within Black Ops Cold War, though they're still quite off here, I think. Diamond was still absolutely massacred. Gold, though, and TM Ultra not looking half bad by comparison, but those were adjusted as well and changed out with this update. But overall, that's where we're at here at this. That is 10 changes that we ended up seeing that weren't mentioned in the patch notes as of this past week. So let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like any of these changes? Maybe not so much. Were you hoping to see some other change introduced as well? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. The next couple of weeks do look to be pretty interesting, so stick around here if you guys are new. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.